Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the man that you saw on the thumbnail is none other than 53-year-old former Faith Christian Academy teacher, Mr. Warren Riley. Mr. Warren Riley was initially charged in August of 2020, nearly 3.5 years ago, with 4 counts of charges relating to indecent liberties with a minor. Those charges stem from actions that he perpetrated over 20 years ago in the mid 1990s while he was a teacher at said Faith Christian Academy in Goldsboro, North Carolina. Now, being that Mr. Riley, if we can call him Mr. Riley, is 53 years old today, those charges occurred when he was somewhere around 30 years old. And the allegations arise from the testimony of two women who are now in their mid to late 30s who said that this teacher assaulted and sexually molested them when they were 11-year-old children in his care, under his tutelage. He was their teacher. And so, this teacher was arrested amidst the allegations nearly 3 years ago. And the first thing that begins this miscarriage of justice was that Mr. Riley was only given a $50,000 unsecured bond, meaning he didn't have to pay not one red cent. An unsecured bond means the bond is not secured. Now, if you have a secured bond and that bond was $50,000, then you would have to pay a bondsman 10 to 15%, depending on your relationship with said bondsman or bondswoman, which meaning if your bond was $5,000, you would have to pay anywhere between $5,000 and $7,500 to post bail. Now, even the fact that $50,000, even if it was secured, is an extremely low bond for the nature of these charges, I'm appalled that the bond was $50,000 and unsecured, meaning this man who was alleged to have perpetrated these liberties with minors, regardless of it was 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, these are very serious charges. And it's almost unbelievable to me that the judge, the magistrate, the DA, whoever was in charge with this decision of allowing him a $50,000 unsecured bond would do such a thing, considering the nature of these charges. Now, I heard about this when it first happened, but after that, things remained quiet for some time. And actually, last year, in February, almost a year ago, Mr. Warren was tried for those charges. Once again, 3.5 years later. Now, what was the verdict and the outcome of that trial is a further miscarriage of justice concerning the nature of the charges. Now, the trial began in January of last year, and the trial lasted for a duration of a few weeks. Now, during the trial, the alleged victim, one of the alleged victims, took the stand, and she gave innate details of the assaults that she experienced during her time as a student at Faith Christian Academy in Goldsboro, North Carolina. The prosecutors outlined that Mr. Riley groomed the girls over time and singled them out with special attention, like giving them answers to the tests, allowing them to stay back when people went to recess, in which at that time many of these situations occurred. Now, one girl alleged that, he had a secret code with her. Meaning, they said, he would tell the girl, if I clear my throat in a crowded room, that means I think you're pretty. And, he said, if I rub my eye, that means I think, I love you. So these are the things that this 30-year-old man was doing to these young 11-year-old girls. Now, once again, he would single them out, labeling them as a teacher's pet, giving them special attention. And he would keep one of the girls, as she testified in this case, after class. In one instance, the young lady claimed that, the then 30-year-old Mr. Riley, scumbag, creep, amongst other names, would press his body up against the girl, pinning her up against the wall while he had an active erection. And he would also tell the girl that he wanted to marry her. She also stated that he tried to kiss her on more than one occasions. And the most egregious act, the most despicable act that he perpetrated is the lady stated that one day she was in the class playing a computer game in the classroom, when Riley put his hand into her skirt and fondled her. Now, mind you, once again, this is a grown 30 or so year old man, and these are 11-year-old children at the time. Now, of course, the prosecutors, the defense attorneys, when asked why didn't the lady the girl at the time report the assaults, the lady mentioned that she felt dirty, she felt shameful, and she felt like somehow she would be blamed. As most victims of this behavior often take that mental attitude, especially with the mind of a child and adolescence. So during this trial, and I don't know, who were these alleged jurors. However, the jurors remained deadlocked while trying to reach a verdict. Now, because of this, it was notated that Mr. Riley, instead, in an attempt to avoid jail time, he took what is called an Alford plea. Now, if you don't know what an Alford plea is, that means you probably have not had any dealings with the American judicial system. And if you've not had any dealings with the American judicial system, I advise you to stay clear of that system. But what an Alford plea is a plea where the defendant, which is in this case Mr. Riley, admits no guilt, but he also admits that there is enough evidence for the state to convict him. And so, what an Alford plea is a way of pleading guilty without therefore admitting guilt. So, Mr. Riley's plea, his Alford plea, was accepted by the county of Wayne, and I don't know the particular judge or the DA that was assigned to this case, but he was allowed to make that Alford plea, and he was sentenced to a minimal sentence considering these type of charges. He was sentenced to 2 consecutive terms of 13 to 16 months, meaning he would have to serve 2 consecutive terms of 1 year and a month to 1 year and 4 months back to back. So in essence, he was sentenced to 2 years and 8 months max, and 2 years and 2 months minimum. However, as a result of this plea agreement, those sentences were suspended. Now, if you don't know what suspended means, that means you've never been involved in the court system. And if you have not been involved in the court system, I would advise you not to get involved with the court system. But what a suspended sentence means is that sentence is set aside, meaning you don't have to do it. Meaning Mr. Riley is not or did not or is not going to serve a day in jail for these despicable, horrendous, and inhumane actions. But what was imposed upon him was 36 months. And let me make sure I have this right because I don't want to give the wrong information. 36 months of probation. And it's not even intense. It is intermediate supervised probation. Total supervision term, 36 months. For these actions involved in almost taking the innocence. Once again, those ladies, however much age they are at now, those ladies are definitely still dealing with the ramifications and the effects of the actions of that gentleman, if we can call him that once again, nearly 30 years ago. So my question to you, audience, do you think that that sentence was justified? That Mr. Riley got off good in my interpretation? It's just basically a slap on the wrist of actions that would otherwise be considered unquestionably an active sentence, 5, 10 years, maybe even 20 years. No, but this man, in essence, got off scot-free. Not even a slap on the wrist, because probation, evidently he has no criminal record that I see. So he will not have any problem staying out of trouble unless, somebody offers him a job as a tutor or a teacher. Then he may have some issues there. But how many other girls fell victim to his machinations throughout the years, and was not brave enough to come forth, did not have the heart or the courage to come forth and tell their stories? Because these are type of actions that just don't happen once. There is a inbred gene that causes one to engage in such activity. So I don't know. how many other women may have fallen victim to Mr. Anthony Warren Riley and his exploits? But I pray that if there were others, that they would have the heart to come forth, because he definitely did not pay for his actions. Nevertheless, this is Richard Taylor, Taylor House Publishing. If you have any comments, concerns, or issues about any of these things that I have notated, please don't hesitate to call. My number is 919-587-7782, and I'll be glad to entertain your questions, comments, or any other information that you may have about something that needs to be exposed here in Goldsboro, North Carolina. But love, peace, and blessings to all. And, most importantly, I hope those ladies be able to move on with their life, even though they did not receive justice in the court of law. In my opinion, that is. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Peace and blessings.